So I heard this story about a woman who goes into a police station with her best friend and reports that her husband is missing. The sergeant begins to take notes. What does your husband look like? And she said, well, let's see, he's 6'2", he's got a muscular build, athletic build, and he's very nice. He's a kind man. His the girlfriend there, she nudges her and says, look, that's not your husband. Your husband is 5'3". He's a slob and mean. The woman says, I know, but who wants that one back? I want you to think of one word that describes people in general today. Now, obviously, you can go in one of two directions. You can go in the positive direction and talk about all the wonderful things that people are because you're sitting around them. It's easy to do that. Let me help you, though, go in a different direction. Think back to the last time you scrolled through Facebook. There's a different picture there, isn't there? Now, maybe you have good friends and all of your connections are all sweet and nice, and they don't say anything political, they don't say anything controversial, but it's out there, isn't it? You know it, you see it. There are people that they just don't have a filter, right? And I don't know what it is about social media, but it's so easy just to throw it out there. But it's not just social media, is it? People are just throwing it out there everywhere. So what's your one word? One word. Is it insensitive? Is it cruel? Mean? Joe had one in Sunday school. She said harsh. I like that word, harsh. What's your one word? I'm going to give you mine. My word is this. Cranky. I think people are just cranky. You agree? I mean, they just don't seem to care, and they'll just throw it out there, and it's my way. Or you know what cranky is, really? It is an outward disposition or demeanor that represents something's wrong inside. Would you agree with that? That there's something messed up inside. It's like garbage in, garbage is coming out. Julie, that's your phrase, isn't it? Garbage in, garbage out. It's cranky represents something's wrong with the heart, something's wrong in here. There's no peace, there's no joy, it's junk, and it comes out. In fact, we're told that out of the overflow of your heart, your mouth speaks, and if you hear people say things that you're just thinking, oh man, that person is cranky, that's just because they're messed up inside, right? And it's not just what they say. I know it says out of the overflow of the mouth, out of the overflow of the thumbs, the text speaks, right? Cranky. So the word that we've been looking at together this week, if you're going through the Believe book, if you're going through your readings, is gentleness. Gentleness is also an outward disposition, demeanor, that represents that something right and good is happening inside, right? What kind of right and good is happening inside that allows somebody to actually have a gentle response to the way things are going in the world? Well, it's the fruit of the Spirit that we've looked at. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Of course, there's our gentleness word. That word is later in the list, I believe, because this whole list of attributes that should be in us, that should be growing in us, starts deep inside and begins to show up on the outside. You can love someone whether you're loved back or not. That's unconditional love. You can have joy in the moment or peace in the moment, even though things are going crazy. Patience, even though people are not giving you the time of day or you're not getting where you want to go. But as you go further along, kindness and goodness, it starts to be external things, doesn't it? The internal attitudes and internal character qualities of who you are become what you look like and how you act on the outside, including your goodness and faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So gentleness, it makes sense, is on the outside revealing what is already going on the inside. So either we're cranky on the outside or we're gentle on the outside, depending upon what's going on in here. So we have to do a heart check. So gentleness is supposed to be in us. Gentleness is actually not a very popular attribute. It's not popular. And I don't know if I have an answer for why it's not popular, but I can personally attest, it's not popular in my life. Haven't really thought much about this word until this week as we started to work through it. And as I've thought about it more, I realize I actually have a problem with gentleness. I do. Here's what we found, or here's what I found as I did a little research. Gallup poll, who does a lot of studies, especially for Christian organizations. Gallup poll actually did a study on the Believe book and the attitudes and attributes and qualities. Remember, we've gone through how to think like Jesus, how to act like Jesus, and how to have the character qualities to become like Jesus. And they found that of those 30 traits, as they went and did a poll, did a survey, they found that gentleness actually came dead last in that list. Dead last. And whether you're talking about a Christian or a non-Christian, those who follow God, not follow God, it didn't matter, it came last. People struggle with this. And they had a bunch of questions, and the one question that people really identified with and said, yeah, that's me, and this is why it came in dead last for a lot of people, is this question. This was an actual question in their survey. Are you known as someone who raises their voice? How would you answer that question? Are you someone who raises their voice? If you have children, are you someone who raises your voice? If you're married, are you someone who, if you're working for someone, if you're leading a team, do you raise your voice because they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing on the job? If you call up AT&T customer service, are you someone who raises your voice? Now, only you can answer that, and what I realized as I went through this is actually I do. I do raise my voice with my children more than I want to, and that's primarily where it happens. It doesn't really happen on the workplace, doesn't happen between Ange and I, but with my children, this is a struggle for me. Oh, okay, and when I'm driving. All right, it's a struggle for me when I drive too. There are situations we all have in which, this is hard. Being gentle, returning to gentle response. Why is this so difficult? Why is this a problem for me? And so I studied this week and I looked this week and I really did this for me. I worked on this message this morning for me. So this is for me. You're welcome to listen in if you want to. I discovered that I have pretty much shelved this quality. I just had put it to the side. I mean, you talk about that list of stuff, right? That list of stuff like peace, like love, like joy, like patience. Those are things I really do want in my life, and I do think about those. And I try to figure out, now, why did I respond that way? Or why am I thinking that way? Or why am I feeling this way? You know, I am very analytical, so I think through these things. I don't really think about gentleness all that much. It gets shelved, and I started asking the question this week, why is that? Why do I just put that one aside? And maybe you're like me. It's not something you've really thought about much. You think about love, joy, peace, patience. You don't think about gentleness. Who wants to think about gentleness? Now, we should be thinking about it. You look around culture right now, we're saying things we shouldn't be saying. We're blogging things we shouldn't be blogging. We're doing videos of things, and it's just out there. There's a lot of people that are more cranky than they are gentle, but we don't think about our own, do we? Because we can easily see it in others. We don't see it in ourselves. We don't see that we got a problem until we're challenged and asked, like, are you a person who raises his voice? So I was thinking through this, and I realized, I think maybe, and this may be true for you, maybe not, I think maybe gentleness is something that I just completely ignore because I've always associated that word with weakness. I've always seen gentleness as something that weak people do. It's kind of like kindness. Kindness is kind of on the weaker side also. And I know kindness and gentleness are really good. It's just, they're weaker to me. And I don't know why that is necessarily, it just is. And there's stronger attributes I want in my life because I really don't want to be weak. The times in my life that I've been weak are the times that I've been tempted to compromise what I believe. My integrity is at stake. I want to fight for what is true. I want to fight for the family. I want to fight for my marriage. I don't want to be weak. I want to be courageous. So I look at gentleness. I'm like, that's not for me. I don't want gentleness. In fact, to be honest, I don't even think that far about the word gentleness. It doesn't even get my thoughts. I got too many other things that I feel like I need work on. And so I started to ask the question, so do I have a right perspective? Is gentleness weak? And then I thought, well, who is better to go to look at than Jesus Christ? I mean, Jesus should be the example of how we live. We try to live like him. So when I would talk about love, I want to look at how Jesus loved us. He loved us with his life. I want to look at how Jesus had joy in the midst of his circumstances, peace in the midst of his circumstances, the peace that he promises that passes understanding, all these things that Jesus is. So when we talk about gentleness, we've got to go back to Jesus and say, okay, was Jesus gentle? Well, he's called gentle, right? One of the things he's called is meek, mild, and gentle. By the way, meek, mild, gentle, they sound kind of weak to me. But this is Jesus, so they can't be weak, right? I mean, Jesus can't be meek, mild, and gentle, not in the sense I'm thinking. There's got to be more here. So I started looking up passages in which Jesus shows strength, because I want Jesus to be my superhero. I want Jesus to have strength. I want Jesus to be bold. And I went to that place where Jesus gets pretty upset with people. Remember it's in the temple? Let's go through that together. When it was almost time for the Jewish Passover, Passover is one of 3 big feasts where all Jews had to go back to Jerusalem to offer their sacrifice. Passover is the one that celebrates the death angel passing over the Jewish houses that had the blood of the lamb on the doorpost that were in the shape of the cross, which is so cool because it's foreshadowing the cross coming. The death angel passed over. Do you remember what happened right before that led up to that? 10 devastating plagues. In fact, this is the 10th of the 10 devastating plagues upon Egypt because the Pharaoh's heart was hardened because they were enslaving God's children. God was freeing his people with all this amazing, cool power. That's the Passover feast. This is a very, very significant feast for them. And so they are going to the Passover. So Jesus is going to the Passover, and he goes to Jerusalem, but not just to Jerusalem. He goes into the temple courts. And why the temple courts? Because that's where the lambs were sacrificed. The lambs were sacrificed in order for the blood to be collected. Now, this is symbolic because they didn't still do it. They didn't put the blood on the doorposts now. But they remember that the lamb was sacrificed so that the blood could be put on the doorpost so the death angel would pass over. That's why he goes into the temple courts, because that's where the sacrifice is being done. By the way, Jesus is called the Lamb of God. Now, I really like this because Lamb of God, again, to me, sounds weak. Lamb, I want him to be the Lion of Judah. I mean, lion, teeth, claws, rip people apart. Cool. I want my hero to be strong. Lamb is so passive, it seems. And yet, think about this. Jesus is the Lamb of God. The Lamb of God is sacrificed for the sins of the people. Lamb of God isn't so weak after all. So Jesus, he goes into the temple courts. He found men selling cattle and sheep and doves. It was actually the religious leaders who set up this marketplace. It's not the only marketplace. There were other marketplaces in the city, 3 others that they know of. And so this is the 4th one, but this is the one closest to the temple. It's the one the priests were making money off of, and Jesus cannot believe it. The transaction that should be happening here, think about this, the sins of man should be paid for by the blood of the Lamb. And yet what the transaction is when Jesus walks in is the priests are making money off of the people. And he is hot. He is upset. He sees them selling cattle and sheep and doves and others sitting at tables exchanging money. And he cannot believe this. So he made a whip out of cords. And I love this because Jesus doesn't fly off the handle. Jesus doesn't have this hot head and just start laying into him. Oh, he's going to lay into him. But he doesn't do it until he braids a whip. That means he took time. This was calculated. He took time to actually make something. There wasn't a whip laying around. He wanted something he could crack and get everyone's attention. And so he had to find the materials. He didn't have a Michael's to go to. He had to actually find the materials. He didn't have Pinterest to know how to braid it. He just had to braid it together as tight as he could and then crack that whip. That took time. Maybe hours to do as the anger, and it's righteous anger, because these people are doing what they should not be doing in the very temple of God, where God should be praised, where prayers should be happening, where offerings should be given to God, and they're take for self. So he braids together a whip out of cords, and he drives out all from the temple area, both sheep and cattle, and he starts overturning tables. He scatters the coins of the money changers and overturns their tables. I mean, this is big stuff here. He's going at it. And to those who sold doves, he says, "Get these out of here. How dare you turn my Father's house into a market?" He's upset. He's upset. And I'm like, yeah, you go, Jesus. You get him. This is good. This is the kind of Jesus I want to see. Gentle, meek, mild. No. I want to see whip-carrying Jesus. I want to see Indiana Jones Jesus. Now, how many paintings have you seen of Indiana Jones Jesus? What are the paintings, especially when you go back in time and you look at those paintings of old, right? What are those paintings of? They're like Jesus is dressed in white. And it's not just white, it's stark white. I mean, it is pressed white. And it is so white that it is so obvious that he's just so special in that painting because everybody else is in drab earth tones, right? Everyone's wearing earth tone robes. Jesus is in white. Jesus never changed a tire in his life. It's obvious, that kind of thing. He's got clean hands. His fingernails are clean. He's a pretty boy. Have you noticed that in the paintings? I mean, he's all together. He's not whip-carrying Jesus clearing out the temple because I guarantee you there's going to be chicken marks and feathers and there's going to be dirt and there's going to be grime all over that white robe. But no, Jesus, that's not what Jesus is like. Jesus is nice and gentle and he's kind and he's sweet Jesus. In fact, have you noticed when you look at those paintings, have you noticed that all the other faces have this like wind-blown, hardened, sun-beaten, darkened face, and they all look mad, right? Have you noticed that? And yet Jesus, what does Jesus look like? I mean, it's like baby bottom smooth skin. Have you noticed that? And he glows. He's got a glow to him. And in fact, in some of those paintings, he even has blondish hair and blue eyes. He's like the all-American Middle Eastern. That's the Jesus that's in the paintings. And you look at those and you think, well, Jesus, he's just kind. He's just nice. When I look at him, I think he just looks weak. But I know that's not my Jesus. I know that he is strong. I know that he is my hero. I know that he has strength beyond imagination. But I can't help but think when I hear that he's gentle and meek and mild, that means weakness because of what we have done to him. That's why I like Jesus clearing out the temple. I really like Jesus clearing out the temple. But what's interesting is I haven't really talked about in that clearing out the temple any gentleness there. Maybe hinted at it. I mean, he actually took time to braid a whip. That's calculated. It's not fly off the handle. So something is controlled there. And the fact that that's the time in which lambs were slaughtered and he's the Lamb of God, and there's some symbolism there that he's offering himself to be sacrificed. So there's some symbolism there, but really haven't gotten to gentleness yet. But the very next words that come are from religious leaders, or at least the townspeople that are left after being scattered, who confront Jesus. And in that conversation, we see what gentleness actually is. Here's what happened. Then the Jews, and we're not told who specifically, again, it could be those that are left after the others have scattered and collected their money and run. The Jews demanded of him, "What miraculous sign can you show us to prove you have authority to do all this?" You know what's basically being said here? Who do you think you are? Right? Jesus has just cleared the temple because it's the right thing to do. He has just helped them get back in line with God by casting out their money-making venture in a place that should be all about God and prayer. And when Jesus is the one who steps up and does the right thing, he's confronted and told, "You better prove that you have authority to do this because how dare you?" What amazes me is how Jesus responds. Because Jesus could respond in so many really cool Hollywood-esque ways, couldn't he? I mean, I'm talking a sky-splitting open earth. Oh, even better, because it's happened in the Old Testament. Read about it. The earth just splits apart and sucks up the people. Oh, that would have been cool, right? How about this? After all, this is the Passover meal. This is the time that everybody has on their mind that God gave it to the Egyptians because the Egyptians were wrong. They were enslaving God's people, and he poured out 10 devastating plagues. Give me a plague. Any plague? You remember a plague? Frogs. Oh, the frogs. You know, the frogs must have been sickening to have to step over, crunch, just to go to the bathroom. You got to crunch over frogs? That's a serious plague. Thank you. Another plague. Seal blood, yeah, all your drinking water. You know, it said not only was the Nile turned to blood, but every vessel in their homes had blood in it. They couldn't drink anything. And have you ever been around just a little pool of blood? The whole house stinks, doesn't it? Oh, that's a devastating plague. Give me another one. Boils, awful boils, scrape them off your skin type of boils, marking up your entire body. Give me another one. Darkness, where you cannot see. This is supernatural darkness, by the way. They couldn't even light a candle and it show up. It was they could light it. There could be a fire there. They couldn't see anything. They were completely in darkness. You ever have your power go out in the wintertime for like 3 hours? It's the worst. It's nothing compared to this, right? Give me another one. Locusts, eating up all your crops so you have nothing in the fields. Give me another one. Flies and gnats. We'll just throw both of them because there's two of them. They're right there. And in your ears. You ever get gnats just coming out of your ears and into your nose? Or is it just my nose they like? Give me another one. Hail. That's right. The hail hitting all their cattle and killing them. All their meat gone. Everything that they've been raising and working for, gone. Give me another one. What? Yeah. Did they die by disease or because of the hail? I can't remember now. Both, okay. Somebody else had one. We got that one, water turned to blood. And I got the gnat that was in front of me. You guys are fine. Death of the firstborn, the last plague, the one that actually is about Passover, right? So there's these Jesus could have just said, you want a sign? You want a sign? I could just see Jesus laughing. Oh, man. I'll let you pick. Like, pick a card. Pick a sign. What do you want? You want boils? You want locusts? You want flies? You want gnats? You want frogs? You want darkness? What do you want? Hail? You want the death of your firstborn? What do you want? Because I am really, really ready to give it to you. Because here's the deal. This is the house of God. I'm coming here to do you a favor to get you right with God because there's something worse coming. I'm here to share with you. You're wrong. And here you're saying, how dare you, Jesus, do this? You better prove that you have authority. I'll prove it to you, all right. Okay, now, that's the way I wanted the scene to play out, but that's not the way the scene played out. Here's what he said. Jesus answered them, destroy this temple, and I'll raise it again in 3 days. I'm sure they're all looking around going, are you kidding me? You just destroyed our marketplace. Now you're saying we're going to destroy the temple. There's no way we're even touching this temple. Don't you realize, Jesus? Look, it's taken us 46 years to build this temple, and you're going to raise it in 3 days. You are nuts. You are completely off your rocker. Of course, Jesus wasn't talking about the temple they were standing in. He was talking about his own body. We're told that. But the temple he had spoken of was his own body. But Jesus didn't care that they got it wrong. He didn't care that they misunderstood him because time would tell. History would reveal exactly what's going to happen. That they are going to take him, they are going to nail him to the cross, and 3 days later he's going to rise victorious over death, proving he has authority to say these words. Not only that, but in this very act, that Jesus is going to allow himself to be taken and beaten and hung on the tree, in this very act, he's not just going to prove you're wrong. He's going to forgive them for their wrongs. So basically what Jesus is saying here is, I have all authority in the world to do this. I have every right to do this. I stand here as the only one who could actually stand here and do this. I am completely justified. My anger towards you was completely thought out, and it was righteous. I have no fault in this. You are the ones who are wrong, and you have wronged God, and I am helping you out. And here's the deal. Here's what I want you to do. You just feel free to do this, okay? I destroyed your place because your marketplace was wrong, it was evil, it was totally out of bounds. You guys messed up, so I destroyed it. So here's what I'm going to do to you. I'm going to offer myself. You take me and destroy me like I destroyed your marketplace. You do whatever you want to me. What? Yeah. You do whatever you want. Here I am. That's crazy, isn't it? What in the world is that? Do whatever you want, he says. That's his answer. You're going to take me and destroy me like I destroyed your marketplace. Only your marketplace isn't coming back. I will. It's crazy. And it is just a pattern that Jesus continually displays, that he has all this courage to stand up for what is right, all this courage to do the hard thing. And yet, when it's time, he does what's even harder. Because the easy thing to do in that situation is to rain down plague after plague after plague until they're all wiped out. But Jesus says, no, you can just take me. I'll be your proof. My life will be your proof. And not only that, my life is actually going to be what saves you from the wrong you just did. It's crazy, but he keeps doing this. He keeps doing this. So in the garden, there's this scene where Peter, he gets upset because the guards are taking away his Lord. So he goes and he cuts off an ear, and Jesus stops Peter, and he heals the man's ear. He says, Peter, put away your sword. And I'm thinking, Peter, go! That's awesome! That's boldness. You're standing up for your Lord. It is. It is boldness. It is strength. It is good. He did good in the sense, he just didn't see the bigger picture. Jesus, put away your sword because, listen, if I wanted to, I have all the strength in the world to stop this thing. He said I could call down, if I wanted to, 12 legions of angels. You know, a legion is 6,000 angels. Do the math. That's a lot of angels. It's a lot of angels. He could call down all these angels, and Jesus could just remind Peter, Peter, you know your Jewish history. Do you remember that Sennacherib's army, I don't remember, it was like 180,000 in his army, died in one night? Do you know how that army died? Because one angel went through the camp and slaughtered all of them. If one angel can take out 180,000 soldiers, what could 12 legions of angels do? Jesus says, I can stop this thing in a heartbeat. I don't intend to stop it. I'm going to let them take me. And as he's being nailed to the cross, as the nails are being pounded in, he's crying out, forgive them, forgive them, forgive them. This is gentleness. This is the power of God to do whatever he wants, but choosing to do the harder thing. And to suffer and to give himself for us. This is gentleness. Gentleness means to bring power under control. It's a surrender of self. It is demonstrated time after time in Jesus' life when Jesus has resurrected from the dead and he meets the disciples on the shore, and Peter's the first one to swim to shore. He can't wait to see his Lord, but when he gets there, he realizes, wait a second, I have messed up big time. I'm the one who denied him 3 times. Jesus takes him aside, and instead of Jesus laying into him and saying, I cannot believe we were friends, we were close friends, I broke bread with you. I trusted you, Peter. Instead of laying into him, Jesus 3 times, because Peter denied him 3 times, says, do you love me, Peter? Yeah, you know I do. Feed my sheep. Do you love me, Peter? Oh, I do. Feed my sheep. Do you love me, Peter? Oh, Lord, you know I love you. Feed my sheep. He restores him to ministry because that's gentleness. Gentleness is power under control of love and joy and peace and patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, of all of those. I think gentleness must rank in the top 1, 2, or 3 of what it takes to strongly live them out. Gentleness is not weakness. I know I feel like it is, and I've shelved it because it feels like it is, but it's not. It is one of the hardest things to do. You see, because weakness is easy. Weakness is watching a friend suffer and doing nothing, or watching someone who is an enemy of yours suffer and actually cheering about it secretly. Weakness is standing by where those who wronged you suffer. Weakness is getting even. Weakness is getting back at. Weakness is taking the easy road. Weakness is saying to hell with you, because Jesus could have literally said that to those men who stood before him, saying, "Who do you think you are?" But instead, Jesus said, "I will take your hell." Weakness has nothing in common with gentleness. Crankiness has everything in common with weakness. When people are cranky, they're taking the easy road. They're taking the what feels right instead of what is right road. Cranky, that's weak. It takes incredible strength to do the right thing, to live the right way. I heard this story about a lady who was checking out while her husband was off to the side holding their little baby boy. Only the baby boy was not a happy camper. His face was all red and he was screaming at the top of his lungs. And the man just stood there and whispered, "It's okay, Timothy. It's okay, Timothy. It's going to be okay, Timothy. It's going to be okay." Finally, the child did calm down, and another lady came up that had witnessed the whole thing. And she said, "I was so impressed the way you talked to little Timothy like that. You just have a way. The way you were able to calm him down." And the man looked at her and said, "My baby's name isn't Timothy. I'm Timothy." I want you to imagine a muscle builder. I mean, one that has biceps as big as a leg, right? Big forearms, and you can see the veins. I mean, somebody who really muscle builder, holding a little child. Even a fussy child. That's the picture of gentleness. Power under control. This is what we need. We need this desperately. We need it when we're dealing with our children. We need it when we're dealing with customers. We need it when we're leading a team. We need it when in our marriages. We need it in our friendships. We need this attribute, which means we need love and joy and peace deep inside, right? And we need gentleness to show up because we're closely walking with God. It's going to take everything we've got sometimes to respond in a positive way. I want to answer the question. I'm sorry, I just dropped the baby. I want to answer the question. I'm not gentle. I'm working on it. I told you that. I want to answer the question, how? And just want to answer it with one statement. How do you become gentle? Now, there's probably more answers to this, because I do believe that a walk with God, a close walk with God, is going to bring about gentleness. That's probably the ultimate answer. But I think we also need this. If we're going to become people who are gentle, we're going to need to make a decision ahead of time, not in the heat of the moment, not when the situation happens, but we're going to need to make a decision ahead of time. We need to be willing to suffer. A lot of us aren't willing to suffer. We need to choose ahead of time. I'm willing to suffer for what is right. I'm going to suffer for my family. I'm going to suffer for my marriage. I'm going to suffer for the cause. Gentleness and peacemaking are very much related. And Jesus tells us, "Blessed are the peacemakers." And right after he says that, he says, "Blessed are you when you are persecuted." I believe they're next to each other because peacemakers oftentimes are the ones who experience some of the harshest treatment, standing up and doing what's right when the situation calls for it, requires you to decide ahead of time, I'm willing to suffer for my job, for my church, for my career, for my family, for my marriage. I'm willing to suffer. It's a choice you have to make. And you need to make it before it happens. So one final story, a woman retells this as she was a clerk at a store, and this man came up and bought one single item, a baseball bat, an aluminum baseball bat. That's all that was on her conveyor belt. And in the midst of that conversation, because there was no one else in line, the man kind of opened up how difficult his morning was. Things had not gone well. He had been to the BMV, and if you've been to the BMV, you know what I'm talking about. Long lines, rude clerks, paperwork getting misprinted, the computer shutting down, being sent back to get more identification. You've been there. I've been there. This man was beside himself, and he's just retelling the story, and his face gets redder as he's sharing this with the clerk, and finally he thanks her, picks up his bat, and walks out the door. The clerk puts two and two together and starts running after the man. Stops him in the parking lot and says, please don't go back to the BMV. I am sure that this clerk, she just had a bad day. I've had bad days. Oh man, if I had bad days, please. He says, what are you talking about? And he looks down at the bat, looks back at her, and says, oh, this is a gift for my son. It's his birthday today. I think that the way that she interpreted that exchange is probably the way we deserve to be treated when we get to heaven, when we see Jesus, because of our choices. The wages of sin is death. It's that serious. I mean, this should be an instrument of punishment, right? And yet the way God treats us is like the man treats us. It's a gift. It's a complete gift. It's grace. He totally gives us not what we deserve. It's a beautiful thing when you realize that's what the cross is all about. Jesus willingly went there for you. He died for you. You didn't deserve that. You deserve to be beaten with the baseball bat. And what does he do? He says, I want to give you this gift of grace. That's our Jesus. If you don't know Jesus this way, in a personal relationship way, I want to invite you to come. Right now, just come forward and come see me, and I just want to pray with you. This is your opportunity. Jesus says today is the day of salvation. He has died for you already. Today you can be set free. So why don't you come? For the rest of us, we need to choose right now. This is our moment of decision. Are we willing to suffer? We think, oh, life's about all comfort and all that. Where'd we get that idea? Are we willing to suffer for what is right? Make that decision now. And it'll make it so much easier the next time you're cut off in traffic. That, by the way, was for me. I needed to hear that. Will you stand with me as we pray? Father God, we ask that you would provide for us that gentle spirit that only you can provide. That we would recognize our close walk with you as what's bringing about the peace and the joy, the patience, the love that we need in us to be gentle. We ask that you would help each of us to make a decision right here and right now that we will suffer for what is right. And we ask for those who need to make a decision that they would have the courage to step out and receive your gift of grace, the cross of Christ. We ask for this in Jesus' name.